HUGE Lane Hutson update as the Boston University Terriers lose in the Frozen Four, but hey, the good news is that means Lane Hutson is ready to start playing with the Montreal Canadiens. Kent Hughes was at the game, and you gotta think that first contract will be signed very, very soon. We are all super excited for that. Plus, Slav continues rolling in his office. Caufield hits 25 goals on the season. There are a lot of positives to take out of today, and we're gonna talk about all of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But guys, if you're watching this video, give us just a little thumbs up. If you've clicked away, maybe come back, give us a thumbs up, help push us in the algorithm, push us to other Habs fans, and share the excitement for Lane Hutson potentially coming to the team. But we'll get into that later. We're going to open, Jesse, with the game, Habs versus Islanders. And you knew this one's going to be, it was going to be a bit chippy, of course. Earlier this season, Brendan Gallagher, this is the team he got his 5-game suspension against after that brutal elbow on Adam Pelech. And he actually did get into a scrap tonight with Xhekaj. But the big news tonight, I thought, was Cole Caufield, and while his 25th goal of the season wasn't his prettiest, it was a goal that no one even knew was in until Slafkovsky pointed it out. It counted. Every goal counts. And hey, Jesse, 25 goals for Caufield, like I saw in Mark DeMole's post-game article. Like, hey, if 25 goals is a bad season, I can't wait to see what a good season is for him. 25 goals, 62 points now on the season. And like I said, if that's a disappointment for us, for some Habs fans maybe, this is going to be a nice wild ride in the coming seasons for Cole.
Definitely, that's it. Getting involved on the defensive play as well, getting in even on some of the scrums after I'm so, surprised whenever I see this from Caufield, but he's a little bit of a new player, just a newfound player this year, So it's really amazing to see just to continue this hot streak, just to really end off the season here. So you have to feel like next year, just once he's able to heal up a little bit, he's going to go on an absolute heater.
It's not out of the question for him to finish with 26, 27 goals on the season now with a handful of games left, 3 games left. And if he gets that, say 26, 27 goals, ends with about 65 points, that's a pretty darn good season considering he went through a really big cold streak throughout the season, games where not only was he not scoring goals, he wasn't really getting assists for some stretches. His shot percentage is way down this season, and for him to still put up those numbers is an incredibly good sign. Hopefully, once he's fully recovered from that shoulder surgery, as we know he might not even be, then he will be just so much better than we could have imagined. So really excited for that. But I wanted to talk about some of the other guys. Jesse, Jordan Harris got a nice goal on we thought it was actually tipped by Slav, but Harris has been playing well recently. However, I wanted to mention Slav. We've been talking a lot recently about how he has gone to the front of the net more than we're used to. He is just starting to make his big body, his big presence known in front of goalies. And it was, even though he didn't get on the score sheet in this game, it was the big reason for the Jordan Harris goal. And at this point, we might as well just call the front of the net Juraj Slafkovsky's office, because that's where he spends all his time in the, at the right times, when he's not winning a board battle, when he's not firing a puck, injuring a New York Islanders defenseman with a hard shot. He is in front of the net, causing havoc. I just love this style from Slav. It feels like every few games he's just adding something more and more and more. And while he spent time in front of the net before in his career up to this point, sure, it feels like he's just become extremely effective at it.
It's so true. In front of the net where mama cooks the gravy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's exactly my thoughts. Exactly. Like, it seems like now he knows how to best position himself in front of the net. Like, he's getting better as it goes on, right? Like, not only screening the goalies, but getting those tips as well, right? And he's knowing the right times of when to do that, when to maybe kind of bump out and make himself available as a shot option there. So he's really reading the play so well, right? You have to feel like Jordan Harris's goal. It's not happening unless he's in front of the net. So again, doing all these other little things that contribute, to winning these games. This was a tough game tonight because we felt like we had it there in the third period. But again, even though we didn't get the most shots on net, we played a pretty solid game against a team that's really battling for a playoff spot. So like, all things considered, a really good effort, and a fairly consistent effort for the most part throughout the lineup.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, this Suzuki early breakaway, if that had gone differently, if Varlamov didn't get that quite nice, I must say, poke check on Suzuki, we're talking about a different game. Even in overtime, a 2-on-1 with Suzuki and Slav, there were some great plays by the New York Islanders defenseman. Of course, I believe it was Dobson who went out pretty early in this game. They were playing with 5 D-men. Pelech and Pulick were putting on a defensive clinic. And hey, you know what? That's all you can do. A team fighting for their life right now. Montreal went toe-to-toe with them, even though they got outshot horribly. What was it, like 35-15 or something like that? They still held on, and hey, that's a good sign. But you know what else is a good sign? It's also a good sign when it's time. It's time for Lane Hutson. Now, full disclosure, as of the recording of this video, the Boston College game isn't over yet, so we don't know the result of Jacob Fowler's game. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, I'm sure. But what we do know, Jesse, is, well, unfortunately for him and Boston University, they lost. They lost 2-1 to the University of Denver. And hey, you know what? Lane Hutson, I'm sure, was not happy about this. None of the guys were happy about it. Lane actually had a turnover that led to a goal. But even his teammate Macklin Celebrini said, hey, that's not Lane's fault. The shift should have never come to that. So a rough game for the Boston University Terriers. Luke Tuck as well, Habs prospect on that team. But Jesse, that means that the season's over. Kent Hughes was at the game watching Lane Hutson and Luke Tuck. You got to think that these ELCs are going to be signed in the coming days. And Lane Hutson, as he's been saying for a while, like he has been ready to go. And his coaches leads by example with his play and work ethic and his compete. Stuff we've heard about so many Habs prospects, Jesse. This work ethic and compete is something that really translates. And Lane himself said some of the smartest fans in the world talking about Montreal. I love how they're really competitive. To be able to play in front of those fans someday would definitely be a goal of mine. And after the game, after the loss, he was asked, I'm sure he didn't have Montreal on his mind immediately. I'm sure he was just thinking about the unfortunate one. But he said, hey, not sure. I guess we'll see. But I think we will see, Jesse. I'm so excited to potentially see Lane Hutson for the final 3 games suiting up for the Habs.
I am so excited about this. You know, it's too bad to see his run in the NCAA, his historic run come to an end, maybe a little bit shorter than he would have liked. But, you know, to be fully honest, I am just so excited. I'll take it because I want to see him in a Habs jersey. It's something I've been looking forward to this whole year. When are we going to see him with the Montreal Canadiens? I feel like maybe I could see him kind of sitting out that first game just to kind of, okay, know the systems. But for these last 2 games of the season for the Montreal Canadiens, wouldn't it be amazing to see him with this lineup? And I wouldn't read up like too much into his comments afterwards, apparently from his coach, Jay Pandolfo. He says, you know, Lane's is a guy who really takes it like day by day. And that's probably a big part of his success. You know, he tends to really stay in the moment. But I am just so excited for this electric player to come to Montreal, our best prospect in our system. I am so excited. Maybe besides Reinbacher for right now. I think Hutson is right there, you know, and I think it's just a match made in heaven, right? Even just hearing his comments where he's saying, I'm so excited because the fans are not only so knowledgeable, which I mean is a great perk for us being hosts of Habs Digest here, but then also that they're so competitive, right? You know, the fact that this is exactly how Lane is they're going to feed off each other. You know, Lane's going to feed off this MTL crowd and we're going to feed off his energy as well, right? Because this is a gamer. This is somebody who really wants to win every night. He's going to be best of palace with Slav real soon, racking up some wins in the near future.
And you got to think he's going to be competitive in practice, right? These guys are going to go head to head. They're going to want to beat each other. They're going to want to be better than each other, which is just an awesome thing for your young prospects. Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited because Lane Hutson also, I believe, is a Michigan boy, and the Habs' last 2 games of the season, well, one is at Detroit and another one is in Montreal against Detroit. That the last 2 games are both against Detroit, so for him to be able to play against and even in a team from his home state, like in Detroit Stadium, that could be amazing for him, right? So you got to think that he's going to get that opportunity to show off, and even tonight, Jesse, like you said, he's one of these guys. He's a ticket seller. Right? He's one of those guys that stands out every single time you watch him. Even today versus the University of Denver, he had a dangle where he went through 3 University of Denver players, got right to the net and almost roofed it. He just got stopped in close. It was a bit too tight, didn't have much room to maneuver. But like every time he steps on the ice, he's one of those guys that your eyes are just locked on. And I think that is going to make him a fan favorite in Montreal very quickly.
No, absolutely. It's that whole determination, right? That's the big thing about him is he's never been even, you know, the biggest or even considered the most fleet of foot, but then how we can still kind of pull off these shimmies and still kind of get to the front of the net. Like I feel like there's a lot of skill with Lane Hutson, but a lot of it's just force of will as well. He just wants to get there. He's battling to get to the front of the net. He's basically just doing what it takes every time, right? And for those players, like, you really have to respect that. So that's why I'm so high on this prospect, despite the size. This is that combination, not only the skill again, but as this coach was mentioning, it's that work ethic, right? That compete level. And that's a big thing with Slav with these young guys. As Marty said, it's like, you know, you don't control how much they want to get better, how much they want to improve. So much of, you know, their future success is predicated on their effort, on their willingness. And if you have that skill, and then you're really determined to succeed and to get better, not just kind of rest on your laurels, well, that's the makings of an extremely good NHL career.
All the skill in the world can't get you to that next level if you can't, work on your stuff, right? It's very few people, like we've said so many times before, that have that skill that can carry them through a full, long NHL career from the time they get drafted. You got to constantly work on yourself. You got to constantly get better. And these guys in the Habs system, all their top prospects seem to have that drive. Slafkovsky, Reinbacher, Hutson, even guys on the team like Cole, like Suzuki, like the Xhekaj boys, right? There's a lot of great stuff, great characteristics. But yeah, I mean, we are pumped. What do you guys think about Lane Hutson? Now, again, it's not official. There have been the occasional rumors saying, oh, maybe he won't sign. We're gonna go out on a limb and say he'll sign. So we are so pumped. Let us know your thoughts about Lane Hutson joining the Habs, probably, for the last 3 games down below. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, guys. We really appreciate all of your support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.